I figured I'd come on, do a little updating. As you can see, I've got my pickup back there in the garage, and I've been doing a little work to it. I put brakes on the front of it. Seems like whoever owned it before I did got them a little hot, and the pads were they were glazed, number one, so it made it hard to stop, and it looked like they were getting some cracks in them. I'm assuming it was from overheating them. And the rotors are in fair shape. I didn't change them out, but before I do another brake job, I'm going to make sure I do replace them. Yeah, I could see where whoever did the brake job on it did a hurry-up job. There was a lot of pad left, so it wasn't that the pads were wore down. They weren't wore down at all in the front. Now, I plan on doing the backs as well, because I figure that if the front ones were subject to that kind of treatment, the rear ones probably caught it too. I don't know how they could help but not catch it. Mainly, though, your front brakes do the majority of the braking on a vehicle. I haven't had a lot of time to listen or watch other channels. I've been, as you know, my table is full. Since my wife isn't here, I'm doing more things, obviously. And I have to get things prepared for taxes, taking care of my wife's estate, things like that. And it takes time and explanations and phone calls, and it seems like there's just not enough time to do everything that you want, and it gets a little frustrating. So I try not to take it out on anybody, and if I do, please excuse me for it. I haven't had too much of negativity on my channel. Every once in a while, somebody will come in and drop a load on me, but the last 10 days or so, it hasn't been overly abundant. So everybody else is probably as busy as what I've been. I've seen some things out there where they stretch the truth. It's kind of sad when somebody does that, especially if you have a lot of followers, because the followers will use what you're putting out there as truth and repeat it. That's not a good legacy to provide for people that trust in you. But then some people don't have compassion, and there's a description for that personality disorder, lacking empathy, things like that. There are key words out there that the description is a cover-all for a malady of things that a person does or does not do. I know there's been some discussion over that memorial that was damaged 4 times. And really, when you think of it, I don't care who did it or why. It really was malicious and without thought. That person, I think, fits the description of no empathy. I believe that. It's my opinion. And I think if you looked it up and did a description of what was going on there, you would get something back of what I just stated. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. Just go into a dictionary, look at that. Go into medical explanations and see what's said about a person that does things like that. People that use cute names for other people to be derogatory towards them. These are people with low esteem and very little empathy. There are a lot of descriptions of different personality traits out there, and when you're in one of those categories that shows that you're more of an opportunist, and all of you know what kind of a personality it is. sometimes you get sucked in and you become friends with these people and you stick up for them. And it takes a long time before you realize that you may have picked a wrong team. And by then it may be too late. Super Dave had a little article on there that I think it's worth discussing. I hope you go over to his channel and look at it. It has to do with the teachers firing. And I know a lot of us on here are worried about freedom of speech, First Amendment. And the teacher was fired apparently for a song that she had assigned to the students. And it may have been that the song was more for adult type audiences. And in today's age, trying to walk that fine line of freedom of speech and things that can damage others that when you speak, talk about it. Now, the song itself, I've never heard, and I plan on listening to it when I get a chance. One thing you got to remember, your employer a lot of times will restrict your constitutional rights in one way or the other. In a lot of cases, your constitutional right will come first. But there are times where you've agreed to a contract that has compressed your rights. And when a judge gets a chance to look it over, it's hard telling on which side he's going to go until he actually gives it back to you in writing. In this case, they agreed with the employer, which was the school, in termination of that teacher. Now, there's a lot of things that should be considered when you do that, and I realize that some of you are going to disagree no matter what is said. Now, the Constitution probably gives that teacher the right to express herself. But also, there's a certain limitation when an employer says, there's things I don't want you to do. There are things that are done in private here or said in private. But there's also policies that we expect you to adhere to. One of them is you have to follow the standards of our code and the things that the parents have asked us to do. This is in a school system. Now, I've seen it both ways where the board was way far left and they would get after a teacher that didn't teach those policies. And there's some that are far right. They're very restrict, and they will go after a teacher for not following the policies, even though they may be at the opposite end of the scope. And which one's right? Well, it really depends when you take it to court who's in charge at the time. Society moves the needle back and forth. It's like a pendulum. It swings one way and then the other. And as people from either side take advantage of what they have, the pendulum will swing back the other way, sometimes a little further. I know I'm talking in parables, and if you have any resemblance at all of understanding of it, you'll know that I'm talking about the majority of people a lot of times will rule regardless of the morals or the laws. And that's the pendulum swinging. If you take advantage of a situation, you have the tendency to push that pendulum a lot further, too far. And somebody has to step in and try to find some middle ground that we can agree on. A lot of you would say, well, it was only a song. And that may be. But there's songs out there you wouldn't want your children to hear. I'll give you an example. It hasn't been that long ago that a song was written about an angel of death visiting a family to take their child. It was cruel. Caused a disruption in the mother. A danger to the child. And then how many people would listen to it. In the center of this controversy, the guy that liked to do it has a habit of doing things just like that. This time he did it to a child, and he got a lot of back pushing, if you will. Get back. That's not right. That's a child. And he backed off, took it down. But it was kind of late by then. A lot of people had seen it, and made copies of it, so it's out there. I would say that's an example of freedom of speech gone too far, because it poses a violence to a child and those parents, and it's a threat in a certain way. And because this person does this kind of stuff, I would say rightfully low, in my opinion, it was a threat. And this particular person had the balls to have his picture taken in front of the property so that they knew he was in the area. And that's kind of like doubling down on it. Is it right? No, it isn't. Is it morally right? It's absolutely not morally right. Is it against the law? Well, I would say, regardless if it's a satire or not, it should be considered against the law, because it condones the violence of taking a child away from a parent. And the person doing it was the angel of death. And it was written by a channel out there, or a creator that is controversial at the best. He shouldn't be allowed to do some of the things he does. And in fact, when other people have done it, they've lost their channel, or at least lost the video. That's just one instance. That's way out here, way out there, overdoing it. But what I would ask you to do is, I think it was interesting that Dave presented it out there. A parent isn't, most parents, in my opinion, wouldn't want their children repeating a song they figured is controversial. I know as a parent, I got involved a lot with school policies over my children. And I've attended different board meetings and expressed my opinion. Back then, we were able to express our opinion a lot easier than we are today. It has only been a couple of years ago when a letter was sent out from our government to a school board out in Washington, state of Washington, that the parents that had spoke out during a meeting could be held for being terrorists and could be investigated by the FBI. Now, what I read, I have no idea how much truth there is in it, but there was something like 165 parents that attended different meetings of school boards that were listed under the Terrorist Act to be investigated. Now, the Terrorist Act itself was never passed to investigate things that were going on in a school board. So this is an interpretation that reached out way overreach, in my opinion. Okay. Now, when Congress went after it and said, hey, as a matter of fact, it wasn't a law that was passed, it was a policy by the administration. They didn't make the law, Congress didn't. And they went after the government and said, hey, not right. And they said, well, we didn't do anything about going after parents. Well, with a change of administration, somebody in there decided they were going to investigate and see if that was a lie. And found out that it very well was a lie, that the FBI did investigation into parents that had went to a meeting. Now, just to let you know, if you go to a meeting and you threaten somebody during that meeting, there are local laws that can get you. But in this case here, the federal government was trying to step in and make it a federal act by calling you a terrorist. It was wrong. I think that policy should have been repealed immediately. I don't think it was right for anybody to take it that far, but that's what happens in government if you don't keep an eye on it. And it happens in common day life, such as school boards overstepping and making policies that shouldn't fly. Now, this woman, I'm assuming, this teacher probably will appeal it because I'm sure that the union is going to back her up because it's a violation of freedom of speech. But if there's a policy there, then they're going after the wrong people. They need to change the policy if they want a policy where it goes against the grain of the parents. And then the parents need to step back in and give their voice as well. But it should be a fair, level platform for everybody to express their opinion. So, Dave, I'm not real sure because I don't have all the facts that completely surround what you were talking about today. But I commend you on bringing it up because I think it's worth talking about. Because we can look deeper into this crevice there, into the dark depths of what our board does or doesn't do, and how right they are in it, and how it's swung by the pendulum of society as society has swung on it. With that, I'm going to end my deal today. I'll give you some thought, something to think about, and maybe something to investigate yourself. How does your own local board settle things? Do they take care of your library like you think it should be? Are you watching your kids' homework to make sure of what is in there? Has your child expressed different things that they've discussed at school that you may take issue with? And if so, what did you do about it? So there you go. A can of worms has been opened, and now you can go look at it. And it'll give you something to talk about that's worth talking. It's our child's. Everybody's. Yours, mine, everybody's. Grandchildren. That's what's at stake. So let's go look. Have a great day out there. This is my Saturday take on doing something. And I didn't have a lot to talk about, but that was the most interesting thing I've seen this week. And there you go. I salute you, Dave. You brought something up we should all talk about and look at. Thank you so much.